Hello and welcome to What's Your Dram TV. My name's Chris and I'm here at the Clydeside Distillery at the heart of Glasgow to get a little bit of insight into the distillery's history, its present state and what it's got planned for the future. Come on, follow me. The Clydeside Distillery is a stunning whisky production facility situated at the Queen's Dock on the bank of the River Clyde. The distillery itself is situated within the old pump house building which was originally built in 1877. Historically, the pump house provided hydraulic power to operate the swing bridge that controlled the entry of ships importing and exporting goods from all over the world, including our beloved Scotch whisky. Magic that. So, the team at What's Your Dram are here. We're about to have exclusive interviews with Bridgeen Mullen, Visitor Centre Manager, Alistair McDonald, Distillery Manager, and Andrew Morrison, who's the Managing Director and part of the family business. Very exciting for us. Great opportunity. Check it out. So we have the pleasure of being joined by Bridgeen Mullen, who's the Visitor Centre Manager here at the distillery. Bridgeen, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us and for helping us organise this. Tell us a bit about how you get into the industry and how you found yourself lucky enough to be working in the distillery with such huge potential.
Yeah, well, I got into the hospitality industry over 20 years ago. We won't say how many years, over 20, and I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to come and work at Gleneagles in Perthshire. So left the hills of Donegal and landed in the amazing 5-star resort where I spent 5 years going through the different departments and huge training from the hotel. And then after that I had 10 years at Her Majesty's Yacht, the Royal Yacht Britannia in Edinburgh, looking after the corporate events side of the business. And then I ventured towards the sea to the west coast of Scotland to a beautiful destination called Portavadie. But I've always had a passion for whisky, but of course 5-star service. And I heard that there was a distillery opening in Glasgow, and I'd met a chap some years prior who was talking about being involved in this distillery, and I thought, I wonder if he's involved in this distillery, because for Glasgow to have its own single malt distillery is phenomenal from a tourism point of view, a new attraction and also a new venue for the city. And as luck would have it, the chap I met 2 years prior was involved, introductions were made, and I was lucky enough to be the first person to be recruited as Visitor Centre Manager. And so it brings me back to phenomenal 5-star service, but also whisky.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. Well, my first experience here at the Clydeside Distillery was a Ben-Rear tasting. As well as it being these tasting sessions, what else can people expect to be doing here, or activities can they get involved with when they come here to check it out as a tourist attraction? So
as a tourist attraction, we're open 7 days a week, and first tours we have in the days at 10 o'clock, and that's the Clydeside tour. Now that incorporates two areas that are self-guided, and that's to discover the story of Glasgow whisky, because that huge history of all the distilleries in Glasgow and Glasgow's role in helping get whisky to the world. And then of course there's a wealth of information on this pump house, the building itself, and of course the family behind bringing this building back to life and giving us a distillery in Glasgow. And then the distillery tour takes in the distillery itself, that's guided, and then it finishes in our tasting room for 3 wee drams of whisky. and we may not have one whisky, but we have 3 different whiskies, one from the Lowland region, one from Highland, one from Islay. They're all 10-year-old, they all have been in ex-bourbon casks, and great for somebody maybe who's not been to a distillery before, and it takes them through 3 different regions and helps them identify the differences from the nose to the colour to, of course, the taste. And then we have the next option after that is we do quite a spectacular chocolate and whisky tasting, and that happens on a set time daily, and that's for a smaller number, but we do that for larger numbers on occasion as well. On a weekly basis we do have our Distillery Managers tour, and that's quite an exciting opportunity to be shown around our distillery by our very own Alistair McDonald, getting in behind the scenes and seeing things that you would not necessarily see, and having that exclusive time with Alistair as well. That happens every Thursday at 2 o'clock. And then we do a lot of bespoke, tailored tours as well. We like to go above and beyond, hopefully, to make it quite a spectacular experience, no matter what tour a guest is on. And then we do have the venue, the space is available for exclusive use evening events. So, Chris, if you've got a special party coming up, this could be the place to celebrate.
So that sounds great. So I mean, obviously, the feedback you've been getting this year, the last few years, this distillery's been a lot of good feedback, and has recently been highly commended at the Scotch Whisky Awards.
Yeah, we were at the Scotch Whisky Awards, and to be fair, it was an honour to be a part of that category and amongst such amazing distilleries. To walk away with highly commended, we're very proud. We're starting off our journey. We don't yet have our whisky. What we do have is a unique offering that aspires to be the best we can be and deliver a great experience. So it was a proud day, and we also this year achieved 5-star status with Visit Scotland as well. Which is testament to the family for creating what we have here, and the team to deliver an exceptional experience.
Yeah, obviously you're heading that up as well, so you must be very proud of what you've achieved in the short time that's been open. So it's fantastic to hear. Now, I know it can be a bit controversial, but one of the stereotypes with whisky is that it's a gentleman's drink. A lot of people thinking it's an old man's drink and it's something that's drank by men in pubs. As a woman in the industry, do you feel that the demographic is changing slightly? Are you seeing more women coming through here and trying whiskies and taking an interest in it?
Dramatically. If I go back to when I started my career over 20 years ago, personally some of the whiskies I felt were really weren't to my palate, but things have evolved and changed so much. I think there's a whisky for every palate, no matter what gender we are, and as long as we're of age to drink, of course. But yeah, I think it's no longer a male-dominated industry. The team we have here, actually, in the Visitor Centre, you'd be surprised, is predominantly female, and what a collection of palates we have, all very different to what they like. Personally, I love sherry casks. But I've got one of the team who will happily drink any Islay whisky every day. Not that she does, again, that would be responsible. But yeah, we've got a broad team who like all whiskies, and I definitely see more women appreciating and enjoying whisky.
That's great. As a whisky drinker yourself, what's your dram? What do you like to drink?
Well, when I deserve a wee treat and it's been a good day, I have a beautiful little bottle of Glendronach 12 that is tucked away in a discreet place at home. So when I have that quiet moment, I'll pour myself one big healthy dram, kick back and enjoy it.
Excellent. That sounds very nice. I'm going to have a wee look downstairs and maybe look at Glendronach. I don't have one for my collection yet. I've tried them at whisky festivals, but I've not got one, so I was just speaking to, I think Andrew was saying that his is a Glendronach 18.
Oh, very good.
So maybe need to have a wee look at what you've got down there and take one away with me.
I mean, it's like everything, it all depends on when.
That's it.
But yeah, get that Glendronach 12 bottle.
Yeah, I will certainly will. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and the experience here over the last few days has been brilliant, well received. Beth has looked after us phenomenally, and it couldn't happen without your blessing initially, so I do appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, as we say. Slide you.
Thank you. Very nice. Hey Alistair, thank you very much for taking time to meet us. We've been looked after well by your team here. We just wanted to have a wee catch up with you as the Distillery Manager and have a few wee questions with you. So first off is tell us a bit about your background and your role here at Clydeside Distillery.
Yes, Chris, well, it's a pleasure to have you guys here. My background in the industry was, I actually started at Bowmore on Islay. I'm originally from Islay, and it wasn't necessarily the whisky industry I wanted to get into. It was in engineering. I had a passion for engineering, so I wanted to get into engineering, to be fair, and my route in was through a distillery, a whisky distillery, Bowmore on Islay. So I started my apprenticeship there and then moved to Glasgow to finish my apprenticeship, to do my college, and then moved on to, basically when my time was out, I got lucky enough to get the role of distillery engineer at Auchentoshan Distillery. Long story short, that was back in 1984, so I've been in the industry for a number of years, and then moved through the engineering process and became engineer for not only Auchentoshan but Bowmore, Glengarry and a week in head office. I spent a month at each site, which gave me a real good introduction to engineering and production. In 2011 I got the opportunity to move into production at Auchentoshan as Distillery Manager, and done that for 6 years until I seen this bright shiny new pin on the horizon, and a lot of nice touches was things like being involved in creating a new make spirit. There was a lot of nice pools. Obviously the family that I started with in 1984 was the Morrison family, and as you know, it's the Morrison family that now have this, so moving back with them, so a lot of nice touches. And as long as it was a long time, 33 years with the one company, this had a strong pool that I wanted to be here as Distillery Manager. So I'm now Distillery Manager, overseeing production and full health and safety for the site.
Excellent. With regards to the whisky production itself, obviously you don't really know what you're getting until it comes out of the cask, but is there anything that you're putting in place, or anything that you're trying, any sort of flavours that you're trying to get out of the whisky that you're producing here? Yeah,
well, obviously opening a new distillery in the city, it was important to go with a region which is the Lowland region, and the Lowland region for me is about fruity character, it's about delicate, clean new make, so it was all about getting that gentle, sweet character. A lot of the design had been done before I came on board, so there was a lot of work with the late Dr. Jim Swan on the type of stills, and Harry Coburn, another industry stalwart who had been, since I started in '84, involved in engineering production. So these guys, plus Forsyth's Coppersmiths, who have got generations again of experience within industry. So these guys were behind a lot of the decision making at that point to create this Lowland style. When I came on board and we got up and running, what it was we'd probably done 4 to 5 weeks of trials. You've got a lot of parts that play a part within the process and the flavour, from mashing, fermentation, distillation. So we had to basically refine and tune these to get them to where we were. So we've got a lovely, delicate new make spirit of typical Lowland character.
Yeah, we did try a bit of the new make. It was quite pleasant actually. It's interesting to know that that's what's going into the cask. So it's very interesting to see what comes out at the other side. So very exciting times. Now, as well as this place being, a exciting visitor attraction, and bring, up in the game for Glasgow in terms of bringing whisky or having a presence in the whisky industry. What else does this distillery bring to the city of Glasgow in terms of our business?
Well, right away you mentioned obviously the whisky in Glasgow, and I think bringing a distillery to the city of Glasgow again, when you see the number of distilleries that were here in the early 1900s, in the region 20 to 30 distilleries within the city, I think it's great to bring the distillery back into the city, and obviously then again from the Clydeside, our location here, to bring employment back to an area that was absolutely bustling with shipping, engineering, shipbuilding, all that, to bring an industry of whisky distilling back to here has put a lot of jobs and indirect jobs as well, because there's suppliers to here that we use a lot of local produce, which is important to us. Probably finally is the process. The whisky making process is not just about making whisky. We actually have a byproduct. We actually get 3 byproducts of draft, pot ale and spent lees that we actually send out to a company within Glasgow that actually they generate natural gas and put it back into the grid. So we're actually supplying enough byproduct here to fuel 50 average size houses a year of natural gas. So putting something back into the environment
is fantastic.
Important.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. You don't really think about that when you think about a distillery and what you're doing, but obviously in this day and age.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of distilleries, their byproducts go to farms and for cattle feed. Within the city, not a lot of farms around here, as you can see. So we had to think out the box, and to be honest, to put something back into the city, I think is good to do.
Yeah, it certainly is. Final question is that we normally ask when we're doing these What's Your Dram interviews is, what is your dram? What's your favourite whiskey? What do you drink as a distillery?
Tend to answer that with when. So I'm kind of pulled between two at the moment, but coming from Islay, obviously have to side towards a Bowmore 15-year-old darkest, but if the truth be told and I had to choose one and one only, it would have to be Auchentoshan 3-wood, which has been heavily influenced by sherry, as you know, the two sherry finishes. That would be my go-to dram, is the Auchentoshan 3-wood. Obviously a relationship, a number of years, spent more than half my life there, so probably the one I've tasted the most as well. So,
fantastic. So I'm sure you've got a cupboard full of this stuff.
Yes.
To go as well. Maybe catch up for a dram sometime. We'll definitely be coming back here at some point to do a tasting of some sort. Maybe we can look at some recommendations from you then.
Well, we do a manager's tour on a Thursday, every Thursday at 2 o'clock.
And you takes a tour?
Yes, so we do it in this very room, and basically the tasting consists of an Auchentoshan 3-wood, believe it or not, Bowmore 15-year-old darkest. One of our AD businesses, Cask Orkney, and Balvenie Doublewood 17, all chosen. So that's
fantastic.
Four favourite drams.
Yes, that sounds very good. That's it. You might see me back here in the very near future, but
hopefully so.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us again. It's an absolute pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. So I've been joined by Andrew Morrison here, the Managing Director at the Clydeside Distillery. Pleasure to meet you, Andrew, and thank you for taking time to meet us.
No problem.
Looks like we've picked a great day for it, and the weather's perfect, the building looks great. So obviously this old building and the Queen's Dock is steeped in history, but what was it about this area and this building that made your family decide to use this as your distillery?
Yeah, I mean, I think we looked around in Glasgow, a couple of different sites, but the key thing that was really jumping out, I think the pump house is so iconic. You know, everyone drives past it from the expressway, and we looked at Scotway House as well, because that's quite an iconic building as well, but we really wanted to be closer to what's really going on, the regeneration on the Clyde, and being so close to the SEC, the Riverside Museum, also what's planned between us here. Also, like I said, across the road we've got SWG3, what's going on in Finniston, so it's a really vibrant area. So I think when we found this area, it was the clear front runner as far as prime location, and obviously, you know, the pump house is 1877, beautiful sandstone listed building, and we just felt if we were able to secure this site, it really would be a very iconic site for Glasgow.
A lot of people know the history of your great-great-grandfather being part of the building of this pump house. Was that something that was taken into consideration when you chose it, or was it sort of coincidental?
No, it was coincidental actually. It was one of these things, the more research we did, we'd actually already secured the building, and then it was a question of when we were looking at the visitor centre aspect, looking at the heritage of the site, that's when we started to uncover all these great little connections with the family, and obviously the building company Morrison and Mason, and this location. And one thing that many people don't know is Morrison and Mason were also involved in bringing Loch Katrин's water to Glasgow. So there's a great tie in there that's the water we use for our spirit, so there's an even tighter connection out with just the building.
It's certainly fantastic for a new whisky distillery. Every distillery seems to have its own, its own story, its own culture. You know, I read in a recent article that you done with the Scotsman that you weren't always in the family business. So at what point did you decide that you wanted to make the jump into whisky?
Well, I think it was really when I felt I had something to offer, and that took, best part of 10 years of working in retail in California in different environments, whether it be e-commerce, whether it be soft furnishings, products for kitchen. I mean, it was a huge company I worked for, Williams-Sonoma. And then it became a gradual transition. Well, how do I apply that to the whiskey industry, whiskey business? And so then it was a connection with our importers and learning from the ground up, really, sales, marketing, and retail channels. And it was a great insight to see firsthand what made products successful, because the best way to find out is be out there trying to sell it and find out what challenges. Was it the price point? Was it the quality of the spirit? Was it the packaging? Was it the perception? And really, unless you're out there trying to sell something, you don't really get the true feedback on it.
It really tees you up nicely from a business perspective, so know the business before you get into the
and I was very aware of moving into a family business, not just for the sake of, it's a family business, but being able to contribute. And I felt that I needed to go out and learn the ropes a little bit better before I could.
Excellent. Does the fact that you've got that family tie with whiskey, do you think that puts a bit of pressure on the distillery for the first release?
I don't think so, because when we sat down with Alistair and started talking about our first release, we're very aware that it's a busy visitor centre, and we were worried. The concern is that it can be seen as a bit of a tourist trap. So therefore we have to be even more careful and more diligent on the quality of the spirit we're producing, because ultimately that's the key success factor to everything, is having a really good single malt in the marketplace. So when Alistair and I sat down and talked about what we're going to do, we had to say that I gave him the remit that whatever you need to do as a distillery manager to make the best possible spirit, we'll support that from a business point of view. There's not going to be pressure on how many litres we're producing or short fermentations. Whatever you think is required, we'll support that from a business end.
That's good. So you've got a lot of people, they'll be rushing to get their first release out there, but you guys seem like you're taking your time to get it right there.
Yeah, it's been interesting, because we get comment cards here from people that do the visit, and always the number one complaint is that we don't have spirit. Because maybe we're so aware of how young we are, but other people visiting just think we're a distillery, so naturally we'll have our spirit ready. So they're quite disappointed that they're not able to buy a spirit. So I think what we'll do, potentially we'll have a whiskey available on premise. Perhaps maybe slightly earlier than a whiskey going to market to satisfy the demand there. But certainly the first release to market is going to be when we really feel confident that it's of a quality that we want.
It's understandable. Is there any sort of indication you can give us as to when you think that might be?
I would guess probably 4.5 to 5 years will be first release. That we are diligently checking samples all the time of spirit maturing in whether it be sherry, first fill bourbon, second fill, D-char, re-char, and we're really, really happy with the way it's progressing. So it gives us confidence that something relatively young will be of a quality that we're happy with.
Certainly, as a Glaswegian whisky fan, it's great for us to see a distillery open up that we can watch grow. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's produced as a first release. So I have to ask, we've had a wee look at all the whiskies that are lined up outside this room here. Are these your whiskies? Is this your collection of whisky?
This is my dad's. Right. Yeah. You can probably tell by the age of someone he's been collecting for a while. So
do you know what the oldest one you've got?
I don't know what the oldest one is. He's just really into, you'll notice a lot of them are blends, the old blends, and I think he's always been fascinated with the old blends, because so many of them have disappeared from market now, which is quite sad.
As a whiskey drinker yourself, I presume, what is your favourite dram? What do you drink?
I do mix it about a little bit, but I think if I was to say a go-to dram, I really like Glendronach 18. It's got plenty of character in there, some spiciness. You get some of the strength kicking through, but then it mellows. It's kind of my go-to dram.
Excellent. I think the only time I've tried it was at a whisky festival. I don't actually have a bottle myself, but I know you've got some down in the shop, so I might check that one out.
Well, it's a very reasonably priced 18-year-old as well.
Excellent. I look forward to trying that. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been great, and I know that this was sort of last minute that you were brought in to speak to us, but
Delighted to do it.
Perfect, nailed it. So
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So at the end of a successful day's filming here at the Clydeside Distillery on this fantastic weather, I've had a really good experience. I've spoke to some really interesting people here that help keep this place running the way it does. I highly recommend the distillery and the tour to anyone that's in the local area, anyone coming to visit Glasgow and wants to check out a distillery. If you like this video, please subscribe and follow us on YouTube for future videos. Alright, cheers, bye bye.